This is the DMZ. It's our second time doing it live, Bill. We'll do it live. We did it on YouTube live once, and now we're trying Substack. I don't know. I tried to do kind of this is like a soft launch. I don't think, I didn't really put the word out, but I'm here with Bill Scher from the DMZ. And we're going to try out this Substack live and see if we like it. Bill, how you doing, man?
I'm doing as well as anyone could with the entire world on fire. I don't know how you're doing down in southern DMZ.
I really thought you were going to say I'm doing as well as any human being should be allowed to live. I thought you were going to channel Rush Limbaugh, but instead you came at me with that phony baloney good time plastic banana rock and roll kind of stuff.
I was at an event yesterday. And I live in Northampton, Mass, where there are a good number of people that work in nonprofits. I feel like a standard small talk response is, well, how are you doing? Well, I don't have any federal grants.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess how are you doing in America today is I'm alive. I'm not checking my 401k, but we're still here. So, and I
I,
haven't been.
I haven't checked. I have IRAs and 529s, and I purposely have not checked them because I don't want to freak out. And
Warren,
I'm
let's just say
normally
Warren
not someone
Buffett.
who,
Warren Buffett was ahead of the curve.
yeah,
Let's
yeah.
just say that.
So I'm still crossing my fingers that's all going to work out at the end of the day, and I can still send my kids to college.
Well, all we have to do, Bill, is I mean, literally, I'm one tweet away from convincing the stock market that Donald Trump is going to get rid of all the tariffs. The stocks will go up, then I sell, and then they crash again. Did you see this?
I did not see that.
Yeah, a couple days ago, somebody who had a large, sort of a rando, but his last name was something like Reuters. It was like Bill Reuters or Matt Forbes. He had a last name that sounded like a news outlet.
Oh, this is the Walter Bloomberg tweet.
Okay,
Oh,
Walter
oh,
Bloomberg.
oh,
Okay,
right.
right.
I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about now. Yeah,
right.
he's the one
So,
that sent the market into a tailspin.
well, it actually, for a minute, the stocks went up. I assume he sold all of his stocks at that moment.
Yeah.
And then they crashed again a minute later. And I think to me, that highlights two things. Number one, we have a president who's so capricious that you're willing to believe he would reverse himself on anything at the drop of a hat. And then the second thing is we all now we've democratized communications to the degree that any random person can have access to millions of eyeballs in whatever. So yeah, here we are.
I mean, let's find out what we want to talk about. But the whole Elon Musk taking over X thing was supposed to, maximize free speech, and of course, we see speech violations across the board where people are literally being kidnapped off the streets by the federal government for things that they've written, uh, and people can spread misinformation to the point where it can upend global markets. So this is not exactly the free speech paradise I was expecting.
Yeah, there has to be a happy medium, right, between putting people in jail for criticizing the government on Facebook versus uh, talking, manipulating the market on Twitter and roiling the markets. I don't know what that happy medium is. I mean, yeah, again, technology and Trump have sort of conspired to take us into these uncharted waters, and I just don't think our institutions, our rules, our norms are prepared for where we are headed. So
Well, people were trying to build a social media apparatus that had some sort of guardrails. You don't want government censorship, of course, but private entities that run social media companies could try to build a product that served their customers in a above board way. Uh, and I think we were headed towards that, even though life's imperfect and you can obviously nitpick various decisions, but it was still generally being done, I think, with good intentions. And now people who claimed to be free speech absolutists have taken the reins, and as we've learned, these people, Elon Musk being the primary person, had other agendas. They were not solely motivated by
Yeah.
just wanting to have a First Amendment paradise. They had a broader ideological worldview that they're willing to execute, regardless of who gets hurt and regardless of whether truth is involved or not. Uh, and you're seeing the consequences in spades now.
Yeah. So if you're joining us, and there might be a couple of you, this is sort of a soft launch. Bill and I wanted to just try Substack Live, so we didn't really schedule this or tell people about it. We're just sort of doing it, and now we're gonna check it out, and we'll see if it actually posts to YouTube and if it works and all that. So, but this could be a good thing to do with our DMZ conversation, Bill. I feel, speaking of technology, I mean, I feel like Substack is really building a pretty amazing community, and there. I know that the kind of MAGA has Rumble, but they also are big, very big on podcasts, very big on podcasts. Some of the top podcasts, the Tucker Carlsons, the Ben Shapiro's, are the Joe Rogans but I feel like Substack is maybe the place for us for now. But how long have you been on Substack, or have you just sort of been there but not really kind of
Yeah, I
that
mean,
active on it?
I'm kind of, you know, I mean, I have my own Substack, although I don't really post very much on my own personal Substack. I've been working with the Washington Monthly. I'm the politics editor of the Washington Monthly. We have a newsletter. We have our own email list, and we've then doubled up by sharing it on Substack as well. And so if I have a piece that's being promoted on the Washington Monthly newsletter, my personal Substack is tagged as well. Um, so I'm kind of sort of still kind of feeling my way around how the community works. I still don't feel like I quite know how to maximize its potential. Uh, but I do sense that this community is growing, and it's probably one of the uh, more substantive social media platforms out there.
Yeah, I feel like there's something happening here. And it reminds me a little bit of like when Twitter first started. So I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign, but it's
Oh,
super cool right
it will all
now.
collapse in a fiery rubble, at some point in the near future. But for now, we
Yes.
can cling to it.
For the next 5 or 10 years. So we're gonna have to get you one of those, and I'm gonna order one of those little adapters so I can use my main microphone. Because for some, I do hear occasionally some little clicking with your earbuds. So forgive us if our sound quality is. Let me ask you, with your normal microphone you're using, Bill. This is like inside baseball stuff here. While we uh, see if anybody joins us, I know a couple people have. What do you have, like a Yeti? What is it, like a USB port? What do you got?
Yeah, I have a Yeti Blue mic that I usually use when we do DMZ, but right now
Okay.
I'm just using the
And
AirPods.
that's a normal USB port plugged in?
What is it? Like a USB-C? I don't even know what the names
Oh,
are anymore.
okay. All
I'm
right.
old, Matt. I'm the wrong person to ask these questions. I don't know how any technology works anymore.
Well, luckily I've
Um,
got a 14-year-old boy who's a tech whiz who like guides me through this. So yeah, I have a USB-C. So anyway, I ordered the adapter. Hopefully, if it works for me, we'll get you one. I think we could splurge and get you one of those little adapters, and we'll up our if this works out. Before we turn to tariffs and budget reconciliation and the looming Texas Senate primary, which I guess we will get to some substance here in a minute. Bill, have you finished White Lotus? The world is dying to know.
no, I haven't.
Okay.
I think we did episode 4 or 5 recently, so we can't
Okay.
talk shop there yet.
Okay. We will talk. I just have to say, no spoilers, but I will just say I was dissatisfied with the season finale, and I'm
You think it's the
yeah.
worst of the three?
I do now, yeah. And I was not a hater. I throughout this third season, right?
Yeah.
Throughout this third season, I enjoyed it. I was very into watching it, but just the finale, the denouement, I found to be disappointing. And so I would now rate. I'm going 2-1-3. Yeah, 2-1-3 in terms of the order of the seasons I prefer.
Who do you side with between Mike White and the guy that did the score?
Oh, I don't know about that. What's the
Oh,
controversy?
it's so
What is the
rare that I know
controversy?
something that you don't, Matt.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
know
the
this.
the guy who did the score for the last 3 seasons quit in a huff and is like talking trash about Mike White for the last several days, and Mike
Oh.
White just was on Howard Stern where he was firing back.
Oh, I didn't
Um,
see this. I would say that my concerns with the series have nothing. It's all writing, nothing to do with the score. But people don't realize how important the score is on anything. You don't notice it.
I think with this show, the score was more noticed by a lot of people. It was very distinctive. It kind of was an undercurrent throughout the entire through every season. It kind of lended this kind of it kind of kept you on edge the whole
Hmm.
time. And I guess some people didn't like the score as much in season three as the other 2 seasons. Um, but the guy who wrote the score was defending himself and complaining about uh, the nitpicking from Mike White and didn't like the dynamic and Mike White apparently said this guy was kind of a prima donna, he didn't want to take notes. But so we'll see. I believe this is season four, so the music might sound very different in season four now.
It might, and they better get that right. All right, my friend. Let's move to the issue at hand, and I think we have to start with the tariffs, right? That has dominated the headlines for the past week. I've talked to David Fromm about this. I've talked to Crystal Ball about this. I talked to Scott Lincecum of Cato about this. I've talked. I can't even think of all. I've had numerous conversations with people about it. I don't think anyone has yet said that it was a good idea. I am intrigued though. If you've been watching, right wing podcasts and Fox News, Benny Johnson made the argument that, hey man, it's just money. It's just ones and zeros. Like it's not about our purpose. Who cares? What's the big deal? And then my friend and the lady who wrote the forward to my last book, Batya Ungar Sargon, made the argument that tariffs are manly. And masculine, and Jesse Waters over at Fox chimed in, saying that if you sit in front of a screen, it'll turn you into a chick or something, which is an interesting flex for a guy who sits in front of a screen and wears makeup all day. But anyway, Ainsley Earhart, you've just got sounding like Parker Posey. You just got to trust the president. He's a billionaire. He knows what he's doing. I could go on, Bill, but what do you make of the tariffs? What do you make of the rationalizations from the
Well,
right?
just as a quick digression, the feature story at the WashingtonMonthly.com today is who is Batya Ungar Sargon?
I think I may have spoken to your reporter about that.
Oh, really? Nate Weisberg wrote
Yeah.
that. So check that out. But
Did
it
I
just
make it? Did I make it into the story, or am I just
uh,
a background source?
oh, I I don't think
I mean,
so.
I told her that I was going to talk to him. I think I did.
Yeah, he might have left you on the cutting room floor.
Well,
I
I
have
don't, but
to
it's
extend my
probably
condolences.
because all I said was I like her and she's nice, even though I disagree with her. Which is what I say about Tucker Carlson, and it's unsatisfying. If I were a
Right.
writer, I would not include that because it's boring. What are you going to say? Um,
Uh, but I think the quotes that you gave there show the dynamic. The only people defending this are the cultists, are the true believers. You really can't find. Well, I guess there was a guy in the New York Times, Orrin Cass,
yeah.
who tried to give a more substantive defense. Even his was like, "Yeah, I know this is not working out yet, but it's still good. Just hold tight, cross your fingers." Um, I- it's hard to. Uh, I don't know if I have anything really novel to say here. It is just completely insane to have run a presidential campaign with the primary message being, I'm going to lower prices on day one. Uh, and when you are the head of a party that has been defined by devotion to tax cuts for the last 45 years, and then you impose what's effectively the largest tax increase on everybody in the country in within your first 100 days in office. It really defies belief that someone would do that. And the only reason why someone could do that is if you have absolutely no interest in your personal political standing, the political fortunes of the people in your party, and the viability of your party long term. You only do this if you are the most myopic narcissist imaginable, which Donald Trump is.
Yeah. No, and I think that's why I talked to Scott Lincicome of Cato yesterday, and he's, very knowledgeable about tariffs. And he said that even he did not actually think Trump would go through to this extent. He thought there may be some, tariffs here and there, but not to this extent. And partly it defies logic, right? You just can't get past the idea that you would think that Trump would care deeply about his reputation and about, I mean, he
Why?
has,
Why would you think that?
well, I mean, okay, one, just to give you a very sinister, nefarious excuse, it's probably more easy to grab power if you're popular, I would think. And
Well,
granted, you at some point you have to,
this is the ultimate power grab. Now, I don't know because I can't be a mind reader. I mean, we like everyone is wondering, is this is the end game to have high tariffs to have high tariffs? They're just going to be high and that's it. Or is this a grand negotiation play and we're going to negotiate things and they will eventually come down? And Trump said himself, essentially, I'm not quoting exactly verbatim, but basically both things can be true. The high tariffs are good and we're going to negotiate. Um, and so I actually take him on his word on that, even though it might seem a little cognitively dissonant. He has taken the global economy hostage. And now he is the lone individual that can negotiate the ransoms. And so I would imagine someone's going to get a deal out of this. And is it to feed Trump's ego or line his personal pockets or just do a favor for a friend here and there? I mean, I don't know exactly what's going to manifest out of all of this. And I do think that he has been talking about high tariffs literally since the 80s. So I think on some level, he does want them for their own sake. He just has a sophomoric view of the economy where if there is a trade deficit, it means that we're getting ripped off. And if we get more money through tariff revenue, then we are getting wealthy, which is not how the average person thinks about the accumulation of wealth. So I think to some extent he actually believes that. But this is a power grab. He now holds the world in his hand, the world economy in his hand, and he will tweak it as he sees fit.
right. It's a power grab in the sense that he gets to have people come kiss his butt and and then he can either give them a good deal or punish them if he doesn't like them, right? And so maybe that
He said this
means,
openly. This is not
yeah.
you're not even making up you're putting words in his mouth. He has said this.
And it
Uh,
also obviously opens him up to a form of bribery, Somebody invests in his meme coin, and then maybe their tariffs will go down. Who knows, right? There's all sorts of possibilities here, but it's a different sort of power than the power that I'm most afraid of, which is him kind of grabbing control long term in an authoritarian style. Which, yes, a disaster could aid in that, and even an economic disaster could aid. But I would think that your goal would be to if you had the long term goal of kind of staying in office indefinitely. My guess is that you would want to be super popular and gain public
you,
approval, and
you're applying
then
way too much rational thought here, Matt. Uh, I mean, again, I don't think Donald Trump thinks beyond a 24-hour news cycle. And now we know they muse about third terms. They may believe, they may be high on their own supply there. I don't think that's a reasonable expectation that the Supreme Court is going to. I mean, even though Trump can win some of these cases, I don't think you're going to get 5 judges to say, "Hey, forget the Constitution, forget the 22nd Amendment, whichever amendment it is.
Or
We're
the
going to use some.
12th.
Is it 12? Is it 12?
Well, there's I'm not a constitutional scholar, but some people say that what is it? Is it the 22nd? Whatever the most recent amendment from 1992 was, that no, not 1992. The one, the FDR, the post
Yeah,
FDR
yeah.
amendment.
I thought it was
That that's
22nd.
the some people think that is the most important amendment to prevent a third term. Some people think it's the 12th Amendment, which has to do with the vice president. I think, right? I'm not prepped for this, but anyway, get
Well, yeah, I mean, there's there's a tortured explanation which uh, Donald Trump could run as vice president and then ascend because the 22nd doesn't
right.
prevent that outcome. But
And that's where
the
they believe, that's where some people believe the 12th Amendment would kick in and prevent it.
it has
Anyway,
to do with it has to do with eligibility.
yeah, yeah,
Um, you can't run for vice president unless you're eligible to be president. Uh, and if the 22nd is like, well, it doesn't totally forestall the ascension option, well, then you can technically
yeah.
be eligible. But like
But
that is so painfully tortured.
I
Uh,
heard George Conway on MSNBC, and I don't know if he has retracted this, but George Conway on MSNBC said, in his expert legal opinion, uh, there's nothing that would stop that Trump could pull this off, this vice presidential route to, JD Vance steps down and Trump is elevated to become the
I
president.
don't think you get Roberts or Barrett or Kavanaugh to buy into that. I just don't. But if they would, then like all is lost. Like we could just all hang it up. We live in a fascist state, and that's it. And I can't, and you and I can't do anything about it. I don't think it's going to happen. But to get back to the tariff uh, point, uh, I don't think popularity is what Donald Trump is really, driven by here. He's driven by narcissism and less for power and self financial interest. Uh, but other Republicans have to still run for office. Other Republicans have to be on the ballot in the midterms of 2026. Uh, and for all of Trump's ability to make the Republican Party a personality cult and to uh, twist or break longstanding conservative principles, this one may be the one that goes too far because you go, how is it that Republicans are now getting friendly with Russia? They were always anti-Russia. Well, when they're anti-Russia, Russia was communist, and Russia isn't communist now anymore. They're an oligarchy, so that there's not necessarily the same reason to go to the mat against Russia. Um, well, I thought they didn't want presidents to just wield executive power. They believed in the Constitution. Well, that's always been kind of when you say certain things when you're in power and things when you're out of power. But tax cuts have been a pillar, a pillar of the Republican Party. I mean, that is what they run on time. And it's one thing that they do every time they're in office. They find a way to do a tax cut. You can't find, with slight exception of George H.W. Bush, who paid a deep
Yeah.
price for it. And
Well,
he himself.
Grover Norquist talks. Do you remember the whole analogy of a rat head and a bottle of Coke? Um, Grover has this really weird analogy about how, like, political parties are brands, and like Coca-Cola has this strong brand, and people are loyal to Coke. But if you ever got a Coca-Cola and it had a rat head in it, you probably would switch to Pepsi, something like this. And his
Yeah.
point is that the Republican Party's brand is no taxes or low taxes, and if they raise them, it's the equivalent of finding a rat head in a bottle of Coke.
And like the tax hike that George H.W. Bush did is a crumb compared to what Donald Trump
Yes.
has done now, uh, and uh, and I can't believe that. I mean, I'm sure he's got some diehards who are saying it's all going to work out, but at some point it becomes clear that it's not working out. You know, you notice when things are more expensive at the store. I mean, we just went through this with Joe Biden. Uh, there are Democrats, there are progressives that were kind of dismissive about inflation. Oh, this is the kind of thing that Republicans and conservatives say to psych us out so we don't pursue the policy agenda items that we believe are going to make everyone's life better, whether it's child tax credit or infrastructure spending or climate initiatives. They always say it's going to, all this spending's going to cause inflation. Don't believe it. It's not that big of a deal. Well, obviously it was a big deal. I mean, I'm not saying that the Biden agenda deserved the blame for it, but that's the connection that was made by Republicans. And because Joe Biden was dismissive on the front end of the inflation spike, he lost the credibility, even though it eventually got tamed. The people were still had lingering anger over the elevated prices that don't come down, even when the
Yes.
inflation rate subsides. So we know how devastating this can be politically, and then just to I mean, there's no question that Trump would be the source of a price hike because he is bragging about it. Uh, People will rebel. People will abandon the party if they no longer can be the party of tax cuts anymore. Um,
Do
uh,
people, okay, so look, you and I know that a tariff is effectively a sales tax. In that regard, it's a regressive tax, unlike the income tax, which theoretically rich people should pay a higher percentage of. Uh, a disproportionate percentage of a poor or middle class person's income will be spent on tariffs than a rich person. So it is a sales tax effectively. And then inflation obviously means just consumer goods cost us more. But will people put two and two together? Will they think of it as a tax bill?
there's not too much to put together. I mean, this is the easiest thing to put together, and we've seen it. You can go back throughout history. People have rebelled against higher tariff prices. Going back to the
Yeah.
19, Trump was from the 19th century. People were mad in the 19th century about tariffs.
Yeah, but
Um,
you have to sit down and write a check to the IRS. Or when you're at a restaurant and you're like, I thought those ribs cost 9.99, but it says here with the tax and the gratuity and the service charge, I'm paying $15. Like people see that. They get the sticker shock. But with the tariffs, it's baked in.
well,
Uh
totally disagree with this. I mean, I paid my income tax once a year. I mean, outside the withholding that we had, I go to the store almost every day. I mean, and it doesn't matter like what station I am in life, whether I'm rich or poor, we all go to the store. I mean, people complain. I mean, there's always inflation to some degree. People complain about inflation, even when inflation isn't even a big deal, because prices always rise to some extent. And at the end of the day, what really matters is are your wages keeping pace or beating inflation? Uh, and when you have a sudden price shock, uh, and your wages are not going to jump up immediately along the line with it, and if it triggers a recession, then they're not going to go. They're not going to get higher anytime soon. Uh, you're going to pay a steep price for that. I mean, under the Biden watch, if I would argue, if there was a competent communicator in the White House, because they would have been able to argue, hey, I know things were a little tough in 2022,
yeah.
but since then wages have been beating inflation, and we know that was a rough patch we're in because of the after effects of the pandemic, but we're on the right track now.
Yeah.
History shows that
A
presidents
young Bill
can make that
Clinton,
case.
a young Bill Clinton, a young Barack Obama probably get reelected
I
with the
mean, this was the
same
Ronald Reagan
exact.
circumstance. And
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan wasn't even that young, but there
But
was
he was a good communicator.
he was, and even though his communication was not a game in 1984, you could there was still a sense of relief once inflation came down and the recession of 81, 82 ended. That because this was better than we were before. We're on the right path now. I'm frustrated that the Democrats weren't able to replicate that. But Uh, there's little reason to believe Donald Trump's going to get to that place. It is pure blind faith to say it's all going to work out. No one can articulate
Yeah.
how you get from point A to point B for it to actually work out.
Also a great Eric Clapton song, Blind Faith. Running on Faith. Blind Faith was the band with Steve Winwood and
Yes.
Eric Clapton. The song is Running on Faith. Anyway, it sounds to me, Bill Scher, like you think Republicans are in for a bloodbath. Now I think we have long for the last month or two, we've thought that Democrats will take back the House, partly because the House is so narrowly in the Republicans camp right now, and just partly because midterms always have this backlash against the party in power. Um, are we getting to territory where maybe the Senate is up for grabs, or is that too
I mean, the
much?
Senate map is very hard, so I wouldn't want to overstate the probability here. But I mean, this is looking like the ingredients of a blue wave. I mean, if you literally throttle the economy on purpose, that's going to cause a pendulum swing. All history tells us this. So the Democrats would need 4 Senate seats. There are two obvious contenders, which is Maine, where Susan Collins is the incumbent, and North Carolina, where Tom Tillis is the incumbent. I'm not saying they're total layups, but Maine is. I mean, Susan Collins has been a survivor, but Maine is a blue state, even though it's red up north. Overall, it's a blue state.
Yeah,
Uh, and North Carolina, while it's been slightly red in presidential elections, and more recently Senate elections. It still has Democratic governors. Had Democratic governors last 3 terms.
and that
Uh,
Democratic governor could be the candidate too,
well, yeah,
right?
though he just got. I think Roy Cooper is considered more likely the previous
Oh, the
Democratic
previous,
governor.
right? He just
Yeah.
right. That's who I meant.
But
Yeah,
who left on an up note, a well
yeah,
liked guy, knows the state well. So yeah, I'm not making predictions here, but like it's reasonable to think Democrats could pick up those two in a blue
yeah,
wave year. Now, how do you get to the next two? That's a lot harder. I mean, they're the two big white whales out there, Texas and Florida, which
yeah. Well, Texas is interesting. There's going to be some infighting. Attorney General Paxton, I guess, is running primarying Senator John Cornyn, and man, Cornyn came out swinging with statements talking about how Paxton, what was it, something about he took an Uber to meet his mistress or something. Um, I don't. This could get ugly. It seems like.
Well, it could, and then that's the kind of thing that could put a state that maybe shouldn't be on the map and get it on the map.
Yeah,
Bloody
put it in play.
primary, bitter feelings with one side of the Republican Party. I mean, Paxton, your Democrats were not able to take out Paxton at the Attorney General level. So I'm not saying he can't win a statewide election, but he's probably a weaker candidate than John Cornyn is. And again, in a blue wave scenario, where not just the economy, but economy plus corruption might be a major talking point. Paxton's checkered past could make him, a weak candidate. So that could get you number three. And there's
Yeah,
also Ohio out there because JD Vance left his seat, and so that seat becomes on the ballot, if I remember correctly, in 2026. And Sherrod Brown, who didn't keep his seat in 2024, uh, might still be a viable candidate in 2026. He has won statewide before. 2024 was not a great year for Democrats. 2026 might be better. I don't think he besmirched his reputation by coming up short in 2024. So uh, again, you're talking inside straight to pull that off,
yeah.
but you're starting to see where the map could
Right.
open itself up.
All right. So let me ask you this. Uh, Republicans stuck by Trump when he was found liable for, what was it, sexual something, assault, abuse? I'm not sure. Republicans stuck by Trump after he sabotaged two Georgia Senate races. And I don't mean Republican voters. I mean like Republican Party. Oh, the Republican Party stuck by Trump after he incited a capital riot. The Republican Party is they've stuck by Trump when his administration is essentially kidnapping and deporting gay Venezuelan makeup artists and hairdressers to a gulag in El Salvador. They stuck by Trump when he's buddy buddy with Putin, despite the fact that Russia invades Ukraine, kidnaps Ukrainian children, and brainwashes. The Republicans, I'm not talking about voters, but just Republican politicians have stuck through Donald Trump through a lot. Are you telling me, Bill Scher, that the pocketbook issues, the stock market, that's going to be the thing that maybe
Look,
causes them?
I mean, you're already seeing Republicans speak out against the tariff policy more than any of these other things that you listed. I mean, it still might be
Surely
kind
they
of.
care more about the children, Bill, than they do about the stock market.
I mean, I think it's just, I mean, they might accept a stock market dip, if uh, for other instigated reasons, but the tax cuts are just a tenet. I mean, I do not believe that Republicans, to a person, are going to abide by becoming the party of tax increases. That's just not what this party is made of. And I mean, this is the kind of thing that can just break a party in two. I mean, if the Republican Party is not about tax cuts anymore, then what is it? And the people who do believe in tax cuts will go somewhere else eventually. I mean, like, this is not George H.W. Bush. I need to tweak the gas tax to help alleviate the budget deficit. This is I mean, it's all estimates. So I don't know if these numbers are gonna bear out at the end of the day, but by Trump's own advisor, Pierre Navarro, this is a $600 billion a year tax increase, 6 trillion over 10 years. That is not a small number.
Yeah.
Uh, and we're in the middle of this budget reconciliation process. So there's an argument. Well, sure, we're doing this, technical or nominal tax increase over here, but we're going to give this big tax cut. It's all going to work out. The farmers, they didn't take it on the chin last time around because we gave them a big bailout, so it all worked out in the
Yeah.
end.
What,
You didn't
20
get your
some
tax
billion
cut.
dollars? Yeah.
So in the in so the, this gets a little bit in the weeds here. To do a budget reconciliation bill, which is the one way you can pass a bill without and prevent a filibuster. It can be a party line, simple majority vote. But to do that, it has to be a budget-related bill. You can't have non-budget related items in the bill. Uh, and you first have to pass a budget resolution, which isn't force of law, but kind of sets guidelines for the reconciliation bill. And this is going to be a particularly weird resolution because the House and the Senate aren't even agreeing on what the numbers are, on what the top line numbers are. They're kicking the can down the road on that, which raises the question if they can even pass the bill at the end of the day. But just to take what the House sketched out, they sketched out an estimated 4.5 trillion over 10 years in tax cuts. So just on the top line number, they're not offsetting the 6 trillion over 10 years that the Trump administration says is the cost of the tariffs. And the lion's share of that number are not new tax cuts. They are the extension of the 2017 tax cuts that are set to expire. And when they were sold at the time in the law, the budget did not account for them being extended. They were technically speaking temporary. So it costs money in the budget to extend them. The Senate is trying to do a gimmick where it doesn't get counted that way, and therefore they don't have to offset it with as many spending cuts. But just as a matter of reality for you and me, you're not getting a new tax cut if they're just extending what has already been in place for the last 8 years. So depending on that, with the House version or the Senate version, they're talking about maybe like 900 billion or 1.5 trillion in new tax cuts over a 10-year period. That is nowhere near offsetting a potential cost of 6 trillion in tariff tax increases.
Hmm.
Uh, so how can a party be the party of tax cuts when this is what they're offering the public?
All
It,
right.
it, it can't sustain.
So just to recap, because I think we've created kind of a hot take here for what may be your next column or something. Maybe I'll steal it. I don't know. Is there something here? You,
I'm going to write this one
you
eventually.
should write this. You should write this.
Well, actually,
But
well, I think I tell you, I did write this. I wrote this. I before the tariffs kicked in, I wrote the Republican Party is no longer the party of tax cuts on this point.
okay, but I think you need to go a step further and say, it sounds to me like this is what you're saying, that the Republican Party, the one, I'm going to try to use that word again. Is it sine qua non or sine qua non?
Now you're
The
going. I can't speak other languages, man.
the quintessential identity of the Republican Party, the one irrefutable, you can't take out the tax cuts. Like if the Republican Party stands for anything, it's cutting taxes, and the tariffs can only be seen as a tax hike on the American public. Therefore, this, more than any issue, more than Russia, more than the character issue, more than Stormy Daniels, this issue is the Republican Party having abandoned its previous identity and therefore could be, even though people have been predicting this and saying, warning about this could be the thing that actually rips the Republican Party apart. Am I going too far, or is that what
I
you
don't.
believe?
I don't think so. I mean. In theory, parties change, parties evolve. The Republican Party wasn't always the tax cut party. It was the protectionist party for a long time. That was one of its biggest tenets for several decades. So you can go back and be that party. The Republican Party is now the party of walls, of
Right,
tariff walls, of immigration walls. We're no longer part of NATO. Like you can be
right.
that party, but
But I don't
some
want to
people
beat
will leave that party.
exactly. I don't want to beat this to death too much, but it sounds to me like you're saying that Republicans are willing to go from being the anti-Russia party to the pro-Russia party. Republicans are willing to go from being the family values party to the Stormy Daniels party, whatever. But they're not willing, some of them are not willing to go from being the anti-tax party to the pro-tax tariff party. Is that
I think there are two main reasons why Trump was able to keep the party together while taking the Republican Party in all these different directions. And one is the caricature they painted of the Democrats. These people are so woke and so crazy that whatever imperfections that Donald Trump offers, it pales in comparison to the awfulness of Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, AOC, the various activists, and whatnot. So we got to keep them at bay at all costs. And the second part is whatever you say about Donald Trump, that guy knows business. That guy knows the economy. And
trust
maybe
in
he takes a little
Trump?
bit up. What's that?
And Trump we trust. Literally, Peter
Yeah,
Navarro said, "Trust in Trump." I
right.
mean,
And people might even think, yeah, maybe there's a little bit of felony in there. Maybe he takes a little bit off the top for himself, but he's going to deliver for the rest of us. So who cares? We can accept that. And this flies in the face of all of that. I mean, you can still say Democrats are crazy if you want to, but it's getting much harder to argue that Donald Trump knows the economy is going to deliver for you, regardless of everything else. Because certainly in the short term, he's doing the opposite. He has just given you a giant price shock and depleted. I mean, I've seen people lean now on. I mean, I heard Republicans say in the Bush years, um, you know, almost everybody has stocks now. We almost all have 401ks. So Democrats can't act as if like if we care about capital gains taxes that we only care about the super rich. Almost all of us have money in the stock market now. And now I'm seeing Republicans and also Sean Fain at the UAW act like, oh, well, only half of Americans have money in stocks. That's a lot of people.
it's like
It's less than 1%.
63%. It's like 63%, I think,
Right.
if you
I think
count
it's
if you count
even
mutual
lowballing it.
funds. Yeah, if
Right.
you count mutual
So
funds and all that.
so a ton of paper wealth has been. But look, I'm one of those people. And so, to some extent, when it's about my retirement, I might say, this makes me nervous, but my retirement's 20 years down the road. Maybe it's all going to bounce back by then. But I got kids that have to go to college, in a few years, and I'm now less sure if I wasn't going to pay the full freight, regardless. I didn't have that much money saved, but how much I have to put towards it is now totally up in the air. Uh, so it affects real people's lives right now, and a whole
Yeah.
lot of people.
But Bill, the thing you need to really understand is that this is all really Joe Biden's fault. I mean, you
You
just
can't
haven't
you
come to
you
terms with that.
cannot play that card now. I mean, if Trump
Watch
was
me. Watch them.
you could I mean, I think before the tariffs, you could try to do that. Like there's a certain undefined amount of time where you can somewhat plausibly say these problems that are cropped up in my first year, I inherited these and I'm working on it, which is what Biden should have done with inflation in 2021. And he missed that opportunity. Uh, but now Donald Trump has single-handedly implemented the most radical economic policy of our lifetimes and openly bragged about it on a daily basis. You can't say anything is Joe Biden's fault now. This is, in a literal respect, his economy.
Well, Bill, have you enjoyed our? This is our for those watching our first ever Substack Live. We kept it. We did a soft launch. We kept it on the down low just to see if we'd work the kinks out. We need to get Bill a better mic. We will take care of that. But if you're watching this even later on YouTube or Substack or wherever fine videos are found, give us a comment. Should we do every week? Should we just schedule a time to do these? Should we do it live? Should we do it live, or is it just as good to do, recorded? What do you think? What do you think, Bill? Did you enjoy this?
I'm happy to do it. I just have no idea if anyone else cares.
Yeah.
It seems like, I guess, if you follow us, you get pinged when
Yeah.
it goes
So
live.
I didn't do this, but theoretically, anyone who subscribes would get an email alerting them. Plus, typically, what you'll do is you would schedule it. So we might have alerted people yesterday, hey, tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, tune in, and Matt and Bill will be talking. But then, whenever someone comes to Substack, rather than just seeing like an avatar up top, they'll see us talking, making hand gestures, and and it might be like Matt and Bill are live. So I do think that this is one of the cool things that Substack is doing. There are people who are upset, Bill, because they wanted Substack to be just about writing and for writers, and they've moved into the podcasting space and the video live stream space. So some people aren't happy about that. Personally, I think it's pretty cool, but I get it. I get it. But you can still write there too. Nothing's stopping you.
All right. Well, thanks for all who watch us live and watch us later, and happy to do it again.
Yeah, man. Well, I have to figure out how to turn this off. I'm not sure how to do that. So, but
You might have to
everyone,
watch us go about our day now.
yeah,
I got to
well,
make
you
some
just
breakfast.
until I can figure it out, we'll just do our thing. Make sure to follow Bill Scher on Substack if you're not already, and the Washington Monthly, Bill. That's on Substack too, right? How do they
Yes. Yes.
to check that out? Thanks, Bill. We'll see you guys soon. Let us know if we should keep doing this.
Take care.
And if you know how to turn it off, let me know. See ya.